But it all was bullshit.
I'm completely lost. I've hit rock bottom.
Don't worry, nobody's listening anyway.
The goddamn joke.
It's all there, black and white, clear as crystal. You get nothing.
That's all, folks.
Shit.
And as Porky Pig leads you into another episode of Steelers Sanctuary offseason, let's just start out really, really quick, because we were talking about it right before, with all of our frustration that Pony decided to make it sound like the Steelers were signing someone huge or doing something where I don't know what, but it was a press conference. And I know, Bob, really quick, could you educate people on why Pony said, I think he still blew it out of proportion, but why did he think that was an actual announcement?
Well, no, I think I know listening to the first 10 minutes, why he did what he did is because they made the point. This is the state of how far behind the franchise is, that they swore the people who covered the team to secrecy, that they weren't allowed to say that he was moving the press conference up to Monday. And his kind of point was, we are so archaic that just a mere press conference to this group running the team seems like it's a big deal.
So he was just being sarcastic, basically? Like,
yes and no, because to the Steelers, this was a big, huge deal.
Because
I think he was hoping that something big would come out of this press conference and that he would be able to.
I do too.
He does it all
I
the
agree.
time. He fucking does this every goddamn week.
And it aggravates the shit out of me. It's like, don't say it's something huge if you know it's not. And then people continue to listen to this guy, which boggles my mind.
I think he just wanted people to listen to this show at 2:00.
That's exactly what it was.
That's all.
It was bullshit.
That's all it was.
He kind of goes head to head with Mark Madden. I mean, let's be honest. I like Pony a hell of a lot better than I like Mark Madden.
I get it, but like he does this all the time, and I hate it. I'm sick of it, actually. Like, dude, just shut the fuck up. Like, you constantly, every week, make out like there's something big, something this, something that. Remember the Ayuk trade shit? That was ridiculous.
Oh, God.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know how. I just don't know how he.
Well, I mean,
he's not just some nobody on Twitter.
Ago.
He's got the prime radio slot on the biggest sports station in Pittsburgh, right? This is the guy, and this is the stuff he pulls. I'm from here in New England. He wouldn't get away with that shit here. They would run him off the radio in Boston if he promised big things every couple weeks and didn't deliver. He'd be off the radio. I guarantee it.
Well, now in fairness, the last time he promised something big was the Ayuk thing,
and it never happened.
Right, but that was months ago.
Yeah, but he also predicts, like, if this is going to happen, that's going to happen. It's going to be this.
Oh,
day,
the safest bet in
day.
sports is to go opposite him.
Yeah, it's all the time with him. It's constant. And it's just stupid.
So, regardless of Pony being, Pony and all that, which is funny, apparently everybody was sworn to secrecy, yet Pony's the only one who came out and made it a big deal. Yeah. Mark Madden was quiet. Kaboli was quiet. Everyone else
didn't say anything.
That was the frustrating thing to me, that he made it a big deal. And now I'm even more frustrated, know that everyone knew and Pony was the only one to come. But starting with David, what did you think about the press conference? We'll just start off before we get into details. Should it have happened at all?
No, because nothing's going to change. Like, it's the same. Look, I could watch his fucking press conference from 2021, 2022, and it would be the same fucking shit. Just like with Tomlin. It's like that toy. You wind it, and it plays, it does the same thing over and over and over again. That's what they are. They're those toys. You just wind them and let them talk the same shit. That's all this is. It's the same shit because they know that they're good enough to get butts in them seats, so they honestly are not going to change fucking anything. And that's what this is. And it sucks because nothing's changing. Nothing.
Yeah, I mean, it's a microcosm of what's wrong with the Steelers. The whole thing. It starts from the top and works its way down. He's comfortable with things as they are, and he's not going to change anything. And until somebody at the ownership level gets uncomfortable with the way things are going on, nothing's going to change because Tomlin's not going to change. And it's not Tomlin's fault. He's made no qualms about it. This is the way he wants to coach. So as the owner, the general manager is not going to do it because Omar Khan's doesn't have that kind of clout on any organization. I'm not throwing shade on Omar Khan.
No, he don't got that.
You guys know how I feel about him, but he doesn't have the clout to tell Mike Tomlin what to do. It has to come from Art, and it's not going to. So nothing's ever going to change until Art's gone. I hate to say it, but that's just the bottom line.
Yeah. When I was watching it,
it's like a nightmare, isn't it?
I had paused on me when I was doing it. But yeah, it was like a nightmare. I mean, you come out, you give the obligatory vote of confidence. Oh, well, he must be a good coach to win all them games. Yeah, he must be a good coach. He hadn't won a playoff game in 9 years. And then to throw the absolute bullshit excuses like the national media throws, well, if you have a good coach, there were 7 or 8 changes this year, and, you got to just build with the guy you got. Cincinnati didn't build with Marvin Lewis. They gave up at a certain point. The Eagles it's the prime example. They're in the state. They fire Andy Reid. They fired Doug Peterson. They're going to their 3rd Super Bowl since they fired Andy Reid. We're not saying to change. And this is the thing that frustrates me, especially from all the other people who say, oh, well, if you fire Tomlin, be careful what you wish for. When we got rid of Noel, was it be careful what you wish for? When we got rid of Cower, was it be careful what we wish for? This organization has hired 3 coaches in 50 years. What makes us think that all of a sudden we're going to start firing coaches every 6 months? I mean, trust me, I was there watching when we had 3 6-win seasons in a row under Cower, and we were terrible. I was there in the 80s with Noel when we were really bad. I didn't stop rooting for the team then. We have a couple of bad seasons, and we retool and rebuild it. I ain't gonna abandon them now. And I don't think most of the fan base will. Maybe the 18 to 24-year-olds who have never seen the Steelers be competitive in a playoff game. Maybe they'll abandon them if they win 3 games. What the hell? Go root for Cleveland.
Well, if we thought we were going to get that demographic, we're definitely not.
They're not watching anyway.
So let's take away the frustration for a moment, if possible. Take away the general frustration with the acceptance of the status quo. Is there anything, subtext, reading between the lines, that we can take away that said maybe that's a positive? I know Mark Caboli tried to put a little spin on it, saying that why do you expect Rooney to bash the Steelers? No one's going to come out and bash the Steelers in that position, and then try to break it down in a read between the lines thing. I personally would like to see a little bit of bashing. Maybe not that. I want to see some accountability. Come out, listen, we know what we are. We know where we are. Here's how we're going to get back to where we are, instead of saying we're happy with where we are. That's what I heard. So is there anything that you guys took away?
Yeah, this is what I took away. My stuff's buzzing tonight. Burn it down. That's what I say. It's ridiculous. There is nothing. Anybody who thinks there was a positive out of this press conference, okay, I'll give us kind of one. Rooney seemed to indicate they're only going to sign Wilson or Fields, not both.
Yeah, that's not because he doesn't want to. It's because they won't want to.
Yeah,
he doesn't think he can do it.
Right.
So
I did like
take that.
The one thing I'll say, Zach, that I thought was you could try to take a positive from. I'll put it that way.
We'll dig.
It is the fact that he did say that he did have a talk with Tomlin about changes and the coaching staff, and he wouldn't go into detail. Usually when they say they won't go into detail, that does mean that they did have some kind of conversation about some of the things that are being done inside by this coaching staff. So that gives me like a little sliver that maybe, maybe they're willing to do something. But it's just that it's every year it's the same shit. So it's so hard for me to even believe it. But I mean, like, if you really want to look for a positive here, you can hope to God that maybe he said something to him like, hey man, like, because I noticed like he didn't give that much of a ringing endorsement to Arthur Smith. Did anybody notice that? Like he, after the whole, me and Mike talked, and I'm not going to go into detail about that. I noticed that he kind of pivoted to Arthur Smith after a question about how the offense failed, towards the end. But then he made kind of like a little excuse, and he still, but still, I thought Arthur did, But I did notice he it was almost kind of like he hinted that he didn't like what Arthur Smith did without saying it, and he wasn't going to admit it. But that was really about all I saw with that.
I thought Pony and Mueller really nailed this, because when it was coming out, what was said, and like Brooke Pryor tweeted out, "Don't expect changes." They both said, "Hey, we kind of know what was said. Now we need to hear how it was said." And Pony especially brought up that this sounds like a tone of the guy doesn't believe it. He just doesn't believe it. He's saying it because he has to say it, because he's not going to do anything about it. But there wasn't that ringing tone of, yeah, I believe what the fuck I'm saying. Which for, Art's a lawyer, so if you know most lawyers, it's not exactly.
But he's the owner. If he doesn't believe it, change it. If he doesn't believe it, do something about it. It's been, 3 weeks since the end of the regular season? They're not changing coaches. And he said today he doesn't see the need to add more. So it's business as usual.
Oh, yeah. That really pissed me off. The whole, I don't think we have our coaches, we have the same amount as others. And then I think it was Brooke who was asking him. And she's like, no, I ran the numbers. You guys are the bottom of the NFL in coaches. Oh, it depends on who you count.
Yeah, that was great.
What?
Yeah. But she kept pushing him on that. And he's just like, it's like, dude, what are you talking about? Like,
don't get me started on him being cheap again, because
hey,
that's Exhibit A.
You're winning me over.
Doesn't want to spend the money.
You've got me. I'm starting to lean a little bit. Like,
I'm telling you.
Brooke didn't stop with the press conference on Twitter. Her and Nick Farabaugh were going back and forth, and the only thing they could come to is that the Steelers are counting extra random, like they're counting Shazier, they're counting Williams, they're counting people that are in and part of whatever role they have, but they're not considered. They're counting them as staff. That's the only way they can. And even counting them, they couldn't make the numbers work.
Yeah.
I don't know Mike Tomlin as the head coach, the defensive coordinator, the offensive coordinator.
Counting Tomlin 4 times. Yeah.
They counted him 4 times.
You know what the most concerning thing to me was in the whole press conference? They asked him, did you learn anything from when you drafted Kenny Pickett and it didn't work out? Is there anything to learn from that? And he said, no. He said, I don't think there's anything we can learn from that. What?
That's a great point.
Catastrophic draft pick. Catastrophic. Set this franchise back 3-4 years. But there's nothing to learn from that? You don't think the small hands, the weak quarterback draft, the shitty quarterback
that's my
doesn't tell you, let's not do that again?
Haven't you read Twitter? Twitter. It's a huge mistake to get rid of Pickett. He's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and you know what? There's rumors going around that they like Jalen Milroe. And if they draft that guy in the first round, and I wouldn't rule it out, guys, I really wouldn't. I'm going to lose it. Because already the guy, you want to hear something funny? I don't know if Bob probably saw it, but I don't know if you guys did. He's got almost smaller hands than Kenny Pickett. So let's go there.
If that happens,
is this perfect? Weak quarterback draft, small-handed quarterback. It's gonna fucking happen. And then, good night.
Who, by the way, sucks as a passer. He was worse than Anthony Richardson in college.
Yeah, wasn't his completion percentage like the worst or something like that?
Yeah.
No, he's getting buzzed. I heard. Yeah, I heard Jim Nagy on a podcast, and he runs the Senior Bowl. And he's wired in. He knows. He talks to all the owners, all the coaches, all the GMs. He said Jalen Milroe's definitely getting late first, early second round buzz. Like he's going before midway the second round. He's gone. So
he's going to be a combine warrior. He's going to show up. He's going to run some crazy time. People are going to be like, "Oh, look how big he is," and they're just going to forget the tape like they did with Richardson. I railed against that pick. I was saying the Colts are idiots for making that pick. I wouldn't have taken Richardson before the 3rd round because there was nothing in college and he only played less than a season for the Gators, and he wasn't good. And he just
it was all his athletic profile, which is, you're right, it's the same thing as Milroe. It's going to be
athletic profile.
Yeah,
right.
They're gonna. Everyone's looking for the next, Ravens quarterback. He's a unicorn. He's 1 in a million.
We got the Ravens quarterback on the roster. I don't understand. Well,
He's not as
probably
good
on
as,
the roster.
I don't know if I go that far, but
he's not as
close.
good as.
He's
No,
20
actually,
times better than Milroe will ever be.
Oh well, maybe that.
However
but not,
you feel about Fields, he's 20 times
what's
better
up?
than Milroe will ever be.
I could go there. Yeah, I'm not ready to put him in the same as Lamar
well,
Jackson.
No, he's
For
not
a
Lamar
moment,
Jackson.
let's put the Milroe thing on the back burner, because does the wanting to re-sign Justin Fields make you feel a little better considering what they said about the Kenny Pickett thing? Because if we re-sign Justin Fields, to me that means we're hopefully not going to take a quarterback in the top 3 rounds. 4th round quarterback. Does that make you feel better at all? Oh, I don't like that.
He mentioned both. Didn't he, guys? If I remember correctly,
Yeah, he did say.
I can look through the transcript, but I'm pretty sure he said sign one and look to draft one. I'm pretty sure that's what he said.
That better be 4th round and lower.
Well, he did say he wanted to see it be more than a 1-year deal, which would me would indicate if you're gonna go more than 1 year, you got to go with the young guy, not the guy who is.
Well,
that's a good point.
Russell Wilson's not signing less than a 1-year deal. That's
true.
I don't have a
he can go to Vegas. He'll have fun in Vegas.
Yeah,
I don't think Pete Carroll wants him. I don't even know
people
why
keep trying to
that's
make that, but that didn't end well in Seattle. So I don't know how much he really likes.
That's just wishful thinking.
Yeah,
I've heard. Well, Russ has got a house out there in Vegas.
That might be Russ's freaking, marketing team going at it again, trying to drum up more suitors than are actually there. Because I don't see it.
Powerful machine.
Tom Brady's gonna be like, no, he's not coming here.
I could see a Tennessee, if they go ahead and draft Sanders, okay, which I'm not 100% sure they will, but let's just say Sanders award ends up there, and then maybe you bring Russ in to let those guys sit for a year. I could maybe see that, but I doubt anybody. I really don't think he would go with Pete Carroll, but I don't think anybody is going to promise him anything.
Yeah, I find it hard to believe anybody would, except the Steelers. The Steelers are the only team. I don't know how Mike Tomlin feels about him.
So the quarterback comment was, I think they're both capable quarterbacks, talking about Fields and Wilson. And my preference would be to sign one of them. So that'll be the priority. That will give us the best opportunity to move forward. Obviously, we'll be looking in the draft as well. So obviously, we got a whole quarterback room to fill, so there's jobs open in there. So sounds like they're definitely planning to sign one, draft one.
Yeah, chat's
don't draft anybody in this draft.
Well,
I've got some bad news.
In the 5th round, 4th round, 7th round.
Yeah, if it's a later round shot, that's one thing. But then again, what's that for? Nothing's going to come of that. So why?
I agree with the chat, and I picked him in my mock draft last week. I think there's something to McCord as a maybe. I don't think he's
having a good Senior Bowl practice.
Yeah, if you get him in the 4th or 5th, and who knows, maybe something happens to Fields, then maybe he gets on the field and he could sit a little while. Maybe he could be something. But let's be honest. I mean, to me, we play Justin Fields this year. Okay, we take a shot on a guy in the draft, but it's really setting up to where either Fields is the guy or we're picking high in 2026.
Fun. Well, me and Dave love Jimmy G as a character. As a character, we do not love Jimmy G as a quarterback. No, please no.
As a man,
you could do worse as a backup. As a backup, you could do worse.
My man is living the dream.
Yeah. Now, this is actually perfect. Let's pivot to the TJ thing, because that's a good point. Did you guys think that they were lukewarm on the TJ thing?
I missed it. Catch me up on that one. I didn't.
I don't know.
They said that they wanted to extend him in the offseason. I didn't hear the tone because of course, we didn't get to watch it. So I don't know what the tone was. I'm just basing it off what I heard. But I know the summary was that they do want to extend him in the offseason. I think that was done mainly to maybe throw some water on the trade stuff. Like we want to extend him, like move on from that, which means that we're only going to talk about it more.
I have the transcript.
We have the quote.
So the question was, Art, TJ Watt's season that he wants to be a part of the solution. He has 1 year left on his contract. Is an extension a priority for him this season? I think that's something that we want to look at this offseason. TJ
that's a
has
little
been one of
lukewarm.
the foundations of the defense for quite a number of years now, and we certainly hope that we can have TJ here for the future beyond this year.
It's a good point, though. I mean,
Does he think that there's a chance they might not be able to bring him back? Like, is that what that is, Bob? Is that what you think, or what?
no, I think he wants to get out of a $30 million contract as fast as humanly possible with a 31-year-old player.
It's a lot of money.
Yeah. I've heard some talk where, they're going to give TJ 2 years and, a few dollars more than the highest paid defensive player. No. Why would we do that? I mean, he's coming off his worst season as a pro, and we're going to make him the highest paid defensive player in football for his next 2 seasons? No. I would love to extend him. What I would love to see is, hey, TJ, we owe you 30 something. We'll give you 4 years, $100 million. We'll guarantee half of it. The 30 you're going to make, the 25 you're going to make next year, and let's get some cap room in here so we can get some guys.
The problem is his agent's going to go, he was still top, 3 to 5 in voting for Defensive Player of the Year. So that's what they're going to counter with. Now, can TJ go rogue again? Go, no, I want this fucking deal over with again?
Yeah, I don't even know why he has a fucking agent, because the agent will be like, he's just going to say, I want to.
It'll be interesting to see if he gets to free agency, what his market would be after next year. Say he has another year with 10, 11 sacks, and
some team would overpay.
It'd be a Von Miller mercenary.
There's some team that would overpay.
He would get paid quite a bit, but I feel like TJ, assuming he stays in Pittsburgh, I'm hoping he does the opposite of what I feel Ben Roethlisberger did. I can't see TJ saying, I want all this money so I can hamstring my team so they can't build anything or get any more guys that we need to win. I think TJ wants to win more than he needs more money, but that's just me.
Roethlisberger didn't hamstring the team with his contract. I mean, quarterback contracts, the cap wasn't as big, but Ben never got top of the market. Ben got top 5, 7-ish money, but he didn't.
I was going to say he was he was around top 5 that one time.
Yeah,
if I remember correctly.
I know he got it. He was part of the $100 million contract at least once, right?
That's when he was top 5.
Yeah, but that's what quarterbacks get paid.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna have a franchise guy, that's.
I know the time frame you're talking about, Zach. Yeah, that was when he got to the top 5.
Yeah, that's the other thing too. People need to wrap their head around. Look, if we find the franchise guy, you're paying him $60 million, and who knows what it'll be by the time we find one. You're going to be paying him $60 million plus.
No, it's true. I mean, yeah. I mean, franchise quarterbacks now are making gazillions of guaranteed
granted,
dollars.
We all just watched a bunch of playoff games with franchise quarterbacks. I'm paying that. I will take
100%.
it all damn day.
100%.
If you get the guy,
you find him.
You can't watch these last 4 or 5 playoff games and not just say we're hell and gone from being a true contender. I mean, just those quarterbacks. Some of the throws we saw, we haven't seen throws like that since Ben Roethlisberger.
Honestly,
3 years
at least that weren't called back.
Honestly, with the way it's going, if I'm an owner of a team right now, and I see that Mahomes is about the 10th highest paid quarterback, any guy who comes to me with a contract for more than Mahomes, fuck you. Go see if you can get it.
It sounds good, Bob, but that's not the way the world works. I mean,
if you
it's just the next guy.
Go.
Next time Mahomes is up, he's going to be $60 million.
Are you saying free agents, or you hit on a franchise quarterback, Bob?
No, I wouldn't. I mean, let's be honest. If Mahomes is healthy and Andy Reid doesn't retire, I got bad news for the rest of the NFL.
Yeah.
I agree.
Josh Allen ain't going to beat him. Lamar Jackson ain't going to beat him. Justin Herbert ain't going to beat him. And there's nobody in the fucking NFC who's going to beat him. Although I could see Philly's team being so strong, and a little preview, I do like the Eagles as of right now to figure out a way against Kansas City.
I mean, I don't want to get too in the
weeds.
weeds.
As far as quarterbacks go, the guy's 17-3. He lost to Brady twice. Only one quarterback in the league has beaten him in a playoff game.
Joe Burrow.
And that guy's team ain't so good.
So you find anyone that is a 1/5. I mean, Patrick Mahomes is you're not going to hit on that guy like once in a generation. We got him for the generation. But you get 1/5 of Mahomes, you pay him. You pay that money. I don't.
Yeah, I would pay.
I had to be convinced of that, but I think.
Dude, if we draft our next franchise quarterback, we're paying him. Like,
yeah. I would pay Josh Allen whatever he wanted. I don't care if he hasn't beaten Kansas City because their defense stinks. and they can't stop in the fourth quarter. They can't stop the Chiefs. Josh Allen's special.
Starting to get a little older.
I'd still pay him.
Allen actually had a bad game, though, wouldn't you say, though, Dave? In a way, but he's so good.
I don't know. Those throws, that throw to Hollins was awesome.
He made some throws. Kansas City's defense legit. Like, they're really good.
Because that's what I was going to mention about 2 minutes ago, was that when you have a franchise quarterback, Allen, to my opinion, had a bad game, but still was so good that he kept him in the game all the way to the end. That was he even took the lead. I mean, shit. So that's how.
Frankly, if his idiot tight end could catch the ball.
But if
his idiot tight end could catch the ball, he maybe win.
Yeah, but don't forget, Kansas City's defense is legit. Like, they're really good. Like, and Spags is a fucking genius, man.
Yeah.
He dials up those blitzes at the key moments, and it's over. He's really good. He's the anti-Mike Tomlin.
That's the perfect segue into the next section, because I was hoping someone would bring up Steve Spagnuolo. Number one, because he deserves all the credit in the world for calling one of the gutsiest blitzes on that play. I mean, my goodness gracious. So if Terrell Austin was watching, I genuinely don't, and this is nothing against Terrell Austin as a human being, I don't know if he's good enough of a coordinator to understand why it was so genius to call it that.
If he ran the defense, I'd care if he watched it.
I was about to say, Terrell Austin had to ask Mike if he was allowed to watch the game.
Yeah, we keep going back to that.
Actually, that's a good point. So I'm going to put a quick caveat on this, so we simply don't repeat ourselves 5 times over. Let's grade the coordinators and then Mike Tomlin. I understand why. We all know the subtext. We all know it. But for this, so we simply don't grade Mike Tomlin 4 times and then Omar Khan. And let's just stay on that. So Terrell Austin is a great starting point. Dave, we'll start with you. Terrell Austin, grade him, and why?
I got to give him an incomplete, because I really, really, really don't know how much control he had. Obviously, he calls some of the plays. He helps Tomlin design the defenses. So he's partially responsible for the terrible play calling that goes on. C-. I wish I knew for sure, but I can never get out of my head what Keith Butler said after he retired. He's like, I didn't call the plays. I didn't design the defense. Tomlin did. And I still believe that's true with Terrell Austin. I still believe Tomlin's defensive coach, everything runs through him. He calls the plays. So I don't know how do we judge Terrell Austin? From his past, he wasn't very good in the past. He had maybe one good year with the Bengals, and then they fired him after a couple bad seasons.
Lions.
But he was with the Bengals too, right? Wasn't he with?
He was shitty with the Bengals.
He was fired.
All right, he had one good season with the Lions. All right.
And then
I don't know. I give him a C- because I really couldn't tell you how responsible he is.
If you need to grade on like 40% of it, assume 60%, even though it's more lopsided, we all know that. Grade him on the 40% that you might be able to assume he had control over enough to impact what was going on the field.
It's got to be a D then. It's got to be a D.
No, that I appreciate that.
I mean, I see no strategy. I see no game plan. I see no one getting better. I don't see anything out of the defense. This is the highest paid defense in the league, right?
Yep.
And they absolutely disappeared in the second half of the season. Just disappeared.
That's a good point. And I wish I would have written it down and look at if you want to look it up on Twitter or somewhere, because I didn't realize that I've been using that stat a lot. It's not completely overblown, but it's a little overblown because the majority of that money is in 4 players. And then the rest is spread among the rest of the defense. So I didn't know that. So go look up the exact thing so I'm not misquoting something. But when they say most expensive, right in my head, I'm like, we're overpaying some people. So, but David, how do you think Terrell Austin did in grading?
Look, we talked about, was his defense elite at one point in the season? And, I always go off the Dick LeBeau rule of you should only need 17 points from your offense to be able to win a game. 11 times this season, they gave up over 17 points. 11 games. They were 8th in points, 20.4 points they averaged per game giving up. They were 6th in rushing. 25th in passing with 228 yards passing per game, 12th overall. You're the highest paid defense in the league, and you couldn't even crack the top 10 in defense.
I bet if you broke it down the second half, Dave, it was even worse.
Oh, I couldn't even imagine. I couldn't imagine if you, it'd be bad.
100%
But then
worse.
I think what really is the exclamation point on this whole fucking thing is it's so damning in the Ravens game how much we forbid to adjust to them running heavy and just kept running out in nickel, putting every small guy out there and just getting ran the fuck over or ran the fuck by. That is what's so damning for me. So that's why I gave him a D, because in the beginning, we were excited, things were looking great, and then just look how much they got shit on at the end. It was just embarrassing. You're ranked top 10 in some categories, but overall, when you're not ranked top 10 with that defense of how much you paid for, it's not good, man. You're not doing good enough. So I gave him a D.
Okay. We got 2 Ds so far, Bob. What do you think? We got an F, but we do have a plus, though.
That's an F plus.
We should have all made signs. Next time, we're going to make signs.
I didn't know we were
Next
having
time.
props.
I'm going to tell you why. Okay. First of all, let's talk about Terrell Austin. And these are off Pro Football Reference, so it's a little bit different than Dave's stats, but pretty close. The best overall point defense he's ever had, and he's done this 3 times, was the 13th ranked points defense with Detroit in 14, Detroit in 16, and the Steelers in 2024. His first 2 years with the Steelers, we were 24th in the league in points allowed and 21st. As far as yards per game go, with the Steelers, 19th, 25th, and this year, 21st. His best ever yards per game defense, he had a top 5 finish with the Lions in 14. He's never finished above 16 since. His best finish was 17 the next year with Detroit. The one thing he does that the Steelers seem to hang their hat on, that this is why they like him, is the turnover differential. He was second in the league this year. He was third in the league last year. He was ninth in the other one. Now, otherwise, he's had a couple other top 10 finishes with Detroit in the top 10. He plays soft zone. He's got some interceptions. He gives up tons of points. He gives up tons of yards. You're paying this defense the biggest amount of money in the NFL. These are not acceptable results. And the reason I only give him an F plus, because I would have given him an F minus, is because I don't believe he has anything to do with the defense. The turnover margin and all that. If T.J. Watt wasn't the best I've ever seen outside of a guy named Lawrence Taylor at taking the ball away on strip sacks, they would be a lot worse. I firmly believe and have believed for a long time that the lazy Steelers defensive calls since they got rid of Butler is, don't worry, T.J. will bail us out.
Yep.
That's a good point. And another important point about Terrell Austin is not just allowing a lot of points. Yet again, I wish I knew the exact stat, but you can look it up. Since we started the playoff losing streak, those playoff games have either been the most points we've allowed in that season or in the top 2 or 3. That is awful. And so not only are we allowed, it's at the worst possible times.
Well, you can't blame Austin for that, because the most points we ever gave up in a playoff game was the 45 that the Jaguars scored. And
Austin, there's one constant through all that.
But
the real DC.
Exactly.
The real DC.
So we'll move on to another coordinator. I'm trying to slow. It's just
what grade would you give him, Zach? Before we move on.
I'm actually going because honestly, Dave, I struggle with the same thing you did. As much as I wanted to take Tomlin out of the equation, my brain wouldn't let me. So I had to do C- as well. I'm like, because I legitimately am not sure. So C-, a C seems too much, because that seems too average. So a C- just gets him on that losing end. So that's what. We're wasting Jackers on the trade TJ. Although I'm with you. I think Rooney threw some water on that one. So we'll see
Yeah.
how it goes.
We'll go get offense. We'll go get a slow plotting running back in the first round. Oops.
Okay, so David, we'll start out with you this time. Arthur Smith. We got Arthur Smith. How'd he do, bud?
So, I mentioned the whole, Terrell Austin's defense 11 times gave up, over 17 points 11 times. Well, guess what? 11 times Arthur Smith's offense did not score over 20 points. 11 times. They're 16th in points, where they average 22.4 a game. 11th in rushing at 127.4. Guys, they brought this guy in to be the rushing guru, and we didn't even crack the top 10. 27th in passing at 192 per game, which is embarrassing, and 23rd total at 319.4 yards per game. Not great. Uses the wrong personnel all the wrong time for the play design of what they want to do. The obsession with CPAT. He forbid to use Mike Williams when we actually did finally trade for somebody. He became too predictable. Everybody knew what they were going to do. It literally was like a nightmare deja vu with Matt Canada by the time we were done. It just really was. The only reason why I'm not giving him an F is the fact that we did have one of our highest scoring games that we've had in how many years. And then we did have some games where we did put up 30 points a couple times as well. But holy shit, was it bad. So I gave him a D-. I was nice. I didn't give him an F. I gave him a D-. So, but I could easily give this guy a further downgrade. Let's give him like a Z or something. Like there's some games where it was extremely bad. But I gave him a D-. He could deserve worse. Trust me.
Okay, well, we got a D-. Bob, what you giving Mr.
Bob,
Smith
hit me
there?
with the F again, baby. Hit me with okay.
Oh, D plus.
Okay.
And here's why. I'm gonna justify this again. Okay. I believe that Arthur Smith came up with an offensive plan in the preseason for Justin Fields. And I thought that plan was working. We were holding the ball, time of possession. No, we weren't scoring 35 points a game. But with that defense, I said this early in the season, I think it's more important that we hold the ball and move the ball down the field and score, even if it's only 3 points. You score, you rest an older defense. You score, you rest an older defense. You get 5 first downs, then you punt, or whatever it was. And
long drive.
That plan was working. And then the Lone Ranger came to town and said, I'm putting in Russell Wilson. And then I think Arthur Smith initially, because I think there's some validity to teams who are just not ready for the Steelers to start actually throwing the ball down the field, that it took him a few games to adjust. He started 6-1. He didn't finish very well. He lost 5 games in a row. So, and I think Arthur Smith let the cat out of the bag with, I don't know that I would have, and maybe he didn't let the cat out of the bag, but I don't know that I had the best working relationship with Russell Wilson, which is now widely reported. So the only reason I do not give him an F is because I don't believe he wanted Russell Wilson as his quarterback. And I saw a lot of evidence in that during games, especially some of the games where he looked really bad against Philly, where it looked like Smith was yelling at him, throw the damn ball. Get the ball out of your hands. So that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Dave, what were we thinking about?
I'm giving him a D too. Here's the last 5 games what the Steelers offense scored. 13, 17, 10, 17, 14. It's
god awful.
It's Matt Canada all over again. And the only reason he doesn't get an F from me is because partially he was set up to fail. You can't go into a season with 1 wide receiver and expect to be an explosive offense. You just can't. I mean, the personnel on the Steelers offense was pretty bad, especially at the wide receiver position. But again, I think what Bob said is kind of right. I think he designed the offense to be with Justin Fields. And when Tomlin decided they were 4-2, They were controlling the football, and it's not a coincidence that the defense was playing well because they weren't on the field all the time because they were actually had time of possession on offense. As soon as they lost that, the defense wore down, and the rest is history. I'll be interested to see Arthur Smith in year 2 if they give him some weapons, what he does with it. Please God, they have to cut CPAT. They can't let that temptation sit 15 feet from him, looking longingly over at him, saying, "Put me in." He can't resist.
I still can't believe he was on Instagram bitching that he didn't play.
The state of this offense is nothing surprises me, Dave. Nothing surprises me.
He should have never seen the field ever, let alone.
Well, he's spoiled because Arthur Smith used him so much. Dave was right when they hired him. This wasn't a great hire. This was status quo. He was just a better version of Matt Canada. Barely, from what we saw.
I feel vindicated that
I don't think that's fair. Matt, you could give Matt Canada 100 seasons. He would never have a top 10 offense. Never.
Yeah, but the advanced stats that they showed us, Bob, is the running game was better last year and the year before than it was this year. The running game was better.
I don't think he's as bad as Matt Canada. I don't think that. It was Matt Canada-ish at the end. I'll say that. But to say he was as bad as Matt Canada, I'm not quite there because
Matt Canada never went 5 games in a row scoring 17 points and under.
I get it, but
was it Matt Canada or was it Mike Tomlin?
Well,
Matt Canada was bad. There's no defending Matt Canada. There's no defending.
No.
For everyone watching, I did my best to keep Mike Tomlin out of it. I really tried at the top, but I tried.
I mean, you come out at a press conference, you say, "I don't want my quarterback to throw the fucking ball."
Yeah.
I mean,
Matt Canada's route designs for his wide receivers were way worse. Way worse.
Yeah.
And he said
it's an improvement.
Though.
No,
he should
it's an
have
improvement
with Matt Canada.
So Matt Canada was an F. Arthur Smith's a D+.
Yeah,
that's the best I can do.
So improvement, but little improvement. Yeah, that's
not good
very
enough.
fair. Very fair.
Not good
because
enough.
what we got a guy who could. That's so frustrating about Arthur Smith. He had schemes that worked. And David, you hit the nail on the head. No idea how to do personnel.
And then the Lone Ranger benched his quarterback.
And actually, that's a good point. I wish when that happened, I would have done what I told myself I was going to do in the preseason. I didn't. I got caught up in it. And I didn't stop and look at what could that mean. He said he was the only person. What does that mean? It means that everyone else was against it. That means Arthur Smith. I got caught up in the immediate results of it and the aftermath of that. So if I would have gone back and looked, it's kind of like the Kenny Pickett preseason. I would have gone, well, of course it didn't work. What he said. So, but
the thing about it was
careful. Kenny Pickett's in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
come
stupid.
on.
And
Anyway,
if you believe Twitter, he's the reason.
Look, another thing too, though, is when he went Lone Ranger, it worked because the deep ball was working because nobody had thought to stop it yet. We were
for
all
2 or 3
happy.
games, though, Dave.
We were all happy. I know, but that's my point. We were all happy because it was working and they were winning. And then as soon as teams figured out, okay, take away the deep ball, stop the run, they're fucked. We were. Period.
Yep.
They needed to go a different route, and they forbid to do it. So, but yeah.
Russell Wilson led the NFL in checkdowns in 2023. And
Probably
the stat just came out. The Steelers led the league in checkdowns this year. Jeez, what's the common denominator?
So what frustrates me about that is the Cincinnati Bengals game showed that checkdowns with the right people and all that works really well, and we didn't do it ever. That was the one game where the checkdowns were used correctly, and the amount of frustration over. I shouldn't know this. I should not be the one sitting looking at my TV saying this is what you should be doing to people who are professionally paid.
Yeah, we said that all season. At the end, exactly.
Yep.
At the end, we really were like, "What? Why? What do you? What?" Like, and that's bad that we catch all these things, but they somehow don't have a clue that it's going on. The Ravens.
They're the most self-unaware team in football. They don't see their flaws. They don't see it.
I've never seen a team so bad, just willing not to adjust in game. Just sit there and take it. Just take that beating.
for a little while, I thought it was a case of what my dad told me when we were little, where it's defend your sisters in public, but then in private, we're going to hash it out. But it was never hashed out. So sure, defend them in public, but then make it work behind the scenes. When neither one works, that's frustrating to me. When you're going to defend them and then it doesn't work, and then defend them, that's what frustrates me. But before we get to the main event, which we all know, GM. Let's talk about the GM. Omar Khan from the preseason mainly, and we all know the big one we're going to hold against him. But Bob, you can kick us off for this one. Omar Khan, what do you grade the guy?
A++++++++.
B+.
B+.
That's a B+. Okay.
I think he's been probably a C in free agency. I know some people came out today. I think Dave, you may be aware of this. The PFF, I think, called Patrick Queen the worst free agent signing in franchise history. I would like to point out Mason Cole. Is the worst.
I think they meant just this season. Out of all the free agents they signed, that was the worst one.
Okay.
I don't think they meant all the time.
Like,
no, because there's been a lot worse than that.
I think he's been average at free agency. I think free agency is a hit or miss thing. I mean, you either get somebody really good, or there's a reason why teams aren't signing guys to second contracts usually. I still think Queen will be okay for us. I'm not sold. I think his drafting is a B+ to an A-. So, and as far as like negotiating and managing the salary cap, that's what he's best at. I think he does a good job with it. It's just a matter of, we have to see a little more in the draft. This will be his third draft. If he walks out of this draft with another 4 or 5 solid guys out of 7 or 8, maybe Andy Weidel's doing it all, but Omar's going to get the credit for it. These drafts are solid, and they're building us back. Unfortunately, when you build through the draft like the Steelers do, when you go a decade without picking anybody good, it takes a decade to get back. And luckily, we're halfway through.
Are we going to do this again?
We've riled Dave up.
Are we going to do this again?
Shots fired again.
Just an elbow for Kevin Colbert.
Bob off the top rope.
There you go, Dave. Now that there's a fire lit.
You know what? In all fairness,
I'm going to be nice.
I'll give him a B.
Yeah, let's remember what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
I'm going to give him a C. I'm going to give him a C. I don't think Patrick Queen was that bad of a signing. I think he probably overpaid Patrick Queen. That's fine. I mean, they needed that kind of linebacker. They got him. Could he have been better? Yeah. Maybe hopefully next year he's better. His second year in the system. Deshaun Elliott was a great free agent signing. But where he fails, and I'm a broken record, but the wide receiver thing is unforgivable. It's unforgivable. He spent 6 months trying to get Brandon Ayuk and ignored every other wide receiver available, and then botched it at the end, or maybe Ayuk was playing him. Either way, he should have picked up on that. One thing I could guarantee you, Kevin Colbert would have made an offer, the 49ers would have hemmed and hawed, and he would have walked away and said, go fuck yourself. Kevin Colbert did not take shit like that. He wouldn't have said to the back of the table, well, what about this? Let's wait. Let's hope. No, it's over. You got to move on. Signing Van Jefferson, Scotty Miller, Quez Watkins, all of them. You throw Mike Williams in there. He sucks too. It's unforgivable. You put your offense in a position where they could not be successful with that group. It's just that simple. And as far as the draft goes, he got the center. Great pick. Four of his 7 draft picks missed the entire season, Bob. The entire season. He had some hits. Troy Fuatanu is a question mark at this point. He hurt his knee twice since being drafted. The guy only played, not even one preseason game? Half a training camp? I can't give him a passing grade on that.
And if he was hurt that bad, I mean, again, and we'll get into this shortly, but why the fuck was he on the field? He didn't get hurt in that game. He exaggerated an existing injury.
An existing injury. The guy's injury prone. There's no getting around that. That's why he lasts till 20. Every draft expert said he was a top 10 talent in that draft. He fell to 20 because he was an injury red flag. People can twist it any way you want. You drafted, and me and Dave had this conversation a while ago.
Adding Logan Lee and Ryan Watts for not playing, that's a little disingenuous. Those were six picks. But I was
Ryan Watts did not play a game.
Two out of the 5 didn't play. But Mason McCormick, Peyton Wilson, and Zach Frazier, those are pretty fucking good players.
Well, again, that's fine. But again, the biggest difference between him and Kevin Colbert is he likes those injury red flag guys. And it's risky. Peyton Wilson is a risky guy. He could go down at any time. Same thing. What? What about Jarvis Jones?
Who picked him?
No. Okay, we are I'm going to jump in.
Yes, he was. He had a degenerative back condition that
we are not going down the debate road again. Dave, finish.
Let's stick to this. Let's stick to this.
Yeah, one day I'd like to go.
Yes, I'm just going to wrap it up. I'm going to wrap it up like this. You can give them credit for McCormick and Peyton Wilson. They played well in spurts. We don't know what we have in them yet. I would pump the brakes before we put them in the Hall of Fame with Herbig. The bottom line is this team was set up to fail from the beginning, and that's on the general manager. You cannot go into a season with Van Jefferson and Scotty Miller as your two options for what you just can't. It's unforgivable to me. I'm sorry. So I give him a generous C.
I have a B+ and a C going into David. What do you think? What's up, David?
Look, it started off really well the year in general. He got Fields for only a 6. Guy ends up going 4-2. He did get Wilson for the league minimum. Added Elliott for only $6 million. That ended up being a really good sign. Got Queen, mixed results. Like, I'd like to see more from Queen, but Jarvis Jones had really worse. Anyways, he did draft Zach Frazier and Wilson and McCormick, and these guys did have an impact on the game. However, Foatanu and Roman Wilson were basically no-shows. So that hurt. And I'm with Dave on this. Like, you got to have a plan in place when you give up Deontay Johnson. You got to have a plan in place for that. You can't just hope and dream you're going to get another wide receiver. And then he didn't even add one until 2 months into the season. So to me, that's what really hurts his grade with me, is the fact that he did some good things. I like Omar Khan, but I mean, I'm with Dave in the fact that you can't. It's inexcusable to just go into that season without a legit number 2. The rest of those guys were not good enough. I mean, you saw that during times of the season, they were number 1 in not getting separation. That's not a good stat to have. So I gave him a C. I think if he gets a wide receiver, a bona fide number 2, I'm probably giving him a B, maybe even an A-, because there's a lot of things he did that I liked. But the wide receiver thing is tough for me to forgive. So I gave him a C.
I think people forget just how bad the free agent market was for wide receivers last year.
Okay, don't make excuses for him. He failed. Don't make excuses for him.
Okay, well then you tell me. Ridley was the only guy who actually was a big name who signed somewhere else. Mike Williams was the 5th-ranked free agent wide receiver last year. So if he'd signed Williams in the offseason, does that all of a sudden make that a good move?
No, Williams stinks too. No.
Tim Patrick, Noah Brown, Tyler Boyd.
Noah Brown was good compared to what they had.
I like Noah Brown.
Tyler Boyd was good. How'd he do this year?
Noah Brown, not Tyler Boyd. Noah Brown.
I was going to say.
But Noah Brown was injured too, but he still put up 500 yards even injured. He would have been a good get. They only offered him a practice squad spot, and that was why he was like, no.
I'd have to go back and look at the wide receiver free agent list. I know it wasn't great, but you got to do better than that.
It was terrible. The only guy I would say that they could have gotten who probably would have signed in Pittsburgh if they'd gone after him was Darnell Mooney, who had a nice year for Atlanta.
He did.
Mooney was out there. He was available. You signed Justin Fields. I think you could have got Mooney.
Yep.
How about this? You hold your nose, you keep Deontay Johnson, and you go sign some average fucking corner that could have played at least as good as Dante Jackson, if not better. And then all of a sudden, it's a whole different season.
See,
So Deontay
in
would've played for
hindsight,
6 teams?
No, he probably would have finished the whole season in Pittsburgh. They put up with him for 5 years. They would put up with him for one more.
This might have
He
been.
wouldn't have
way
pulled
more
that shit
than-
on Mike. Well, I shouldn't say that.
I was gonna say, I'm sorry. What was that? He wouldn't have pulled this shit on who?
I stopped myself. Myself.
There's a whole history here.
But Tomlin knows how to deal with it. Let's give him that. Better than most coaches.
Right, but I think it got so bad they couldn't do it anymore, Dave. That's why I mean, literally,
It's
there
possible.
were rumors he tried
It's
to punch
possible.
somebody in the locker room last year.
What
Remember that?
what did he take Deontay Johnson off the field for one play after he quit on the Cincinnati game?
I can't defend Deontay Johnson anymore. But
They wouldn't have been able to do it.
No,
They
Dave.
wouldn't have been
What I
able to
will say, when the Deontay Johnson thing happened, I was ecstatic. Now I am honestly, I'm with you, because if you don't have a proper plan, a concrete plan, and then a concrete plan B, and then a concrete plan C, and then all the way down to you are in triple Z's to make sure that that is covered, then that is a bad move, because they obviously did not have that. And
they had all
his
their
head
eggs in.
coach telling him that your guys were good.
Well, I was gonna bring that up.
Remember?
The one thing that maybe I give Omar Khan a break on is he might have had Mike Tomlin in his ear saying, "This is good enough." Van Jefferson, perfect. We're good. Let's go. I think he's good enough because it comes back again. We always go back full circle. Mike Tomlin doesn't want to put the ball in the air anyway, so he doesn't give a fuck who's catching it. He doesn't want to put the ball in the air. So
27th ranked in passing proves that.
And I do think they got distracted with the Brandon Ayuk thing too long. They should have cut their losses way before they.
And it felt like we got used, right?
That
Yeah,
festival
100%.
way too long.
100%.
Way too long.
I think
And it made
make
a
the case
public
that-
spectacle of us. Everyone knew how bad we were at wide receiver, and that's it. It was so badly done that I was surprised, because up until that point, he was the con artist. That's what I love to call him. I call him that was a cool nickname. I can't call him that right now. We have to re-earn that. He took that away from me, so I'm a little hurt by that. But we have
Ravens
talked about
Nation,
Mike Tomlin.
Steelers
suck. Well, thanks for joining
look,
us, Chris. I'm just curious. What time is Lamar getting to the stadium for the Super Bowl?
We're both enjoying
Yeah, what ring you
Cabo
guys
right
getting ready to
now.
put on?
So, oh goodness. So we have talked about Tomlin. I knew for
we
his
didn't grade
fact
him?
when I
Here's
said,
his
I knew
grade.
for a fact when I said the disclaimer in my head, I'm like, I'm probably just saying words for the sake of words. So we really quick. I'm gonna say, if you could keep it to like a minute and a half, if you have to sum up
with Bob and Dave, good luck.
Not Mike Tomlin as OC, not Mike Tomlin as DC, not Mike Tomlin as all that. Mike Tomlin as the head coach and all that. If there's a way to possibly curtail that so we don't go on for another 45 minutes,
we're not giving them any
do
credit for the offense and defense.
I'll do. It's your minute and a half to 2 minutes. David, start out really quick. Mike Tomlin, minute.
Mike, look, he had a chance to go get an OC, a young offensive guru, under the Shanahan tree, the McVay tree. He had a chance to do this and chose not to do that. He didn't even wait longer than a week, if I remember correctly, and hired the guy that wanted what he wanted. It wasn't change that he said he was going to do last year. There was no change. He found the guy that was going to do what he wanted to do, and he brought him in, and it ended in disaster this season. And that, for me, is just my biggest problem with him, is he forbids the change. Even though he talks the talk, he never walks the walk. It's ridiculous how much he does this. His team quit on him in that last game. You could argue even more than that. They quit on him. And to me, that there in itself, and the defense just not adjusting. I mean, look, you're the head fucking coach. Even if Terrell Austin is not making adjustments, your background is defense. You should be looking, going, wait a second, they're running heavy. Why do we have all our small guys that in the nickel out there? Weird. Terrell Austin, what are you doing? Like, make that change. Motherfucker didn't do shit. He just stood there and just watched that happen. I give him an F. An F. Okay?
Just what they'd expect us to do.
Well, Bob, we know your grade. What What is your summary of why we are giving Mike Tomlin that?
Now that we're not crediting him for the
I didn't
defense,
see the Morse code. I missed the Morse code at the end of that.
I was only giving him an F-, but then you said we can't say the defensive coordinator, offensive coordinator. That hurt his grade. I mean, that was bringing the average up to the F-.
I don't mind that. We're getting to some honest. I like that. So specifically as far as that, why?
Mr. Leader of Men, his team quit on him. Mr. People want to play for Mike Tomlin. Name me the one free agent wide receiver who wants to come to Pittsburgh. And at this point, if I'm a free agent quarterback, hey, Danny Dimes, hey, you want me, Mike Tomlin, to come to Pittsburgh? Go fuck yourself. I mean, he might be able to attract guys like Skylar Thompson there. I mean, it's beyond ridiculous. He gets credit for things he has nothing to do with, and he takes no blame for everything that he does have things to do with. It's beyond ridiculous at this point how anybody can watch the guy who now has the longest playoff losing streak to keep his job in the NFL. History. He is historically bad at losing playoff games. Marty Schottenheimer is looking down on Mike Tomlin at this point.
Bob, don't take your anger out on the keyboard, okay? I heard it's keyboard. Keyboard did nothing wrong to you. It's just a keyboard, okay?
What was there a time when Tomlin was a pretty good coach? Yeah. That time has been long gone. This is a decade of the franchise becoming a joke, and now we know why, because the owner isn't taking it seriously either. So the only reason I don't give him a fat 0 is because Art Tomlin, Art. Wait,
so
might
Matt,
well be the same
combined
person.
them together.
Art Tomlin, hybrid creature of Pittsburgh.
Freudian slip. That Art Rooney allows it. That's why Art Rooney is allowing this bullshit. That's the only reason he doesn't get a 0.
I'm just saying, the first thing I do after this, I'm asking AI to create what an Art Tomlin would look like. First thing I am doing.
That's this ownership right now. The Art Tomlins of the world. Yes.
Okay, Dave, grade and why on Mr. Tomlin?
Zach, I didn't expect to be the highest grade in this group. You guys are on something today, boy. I'll tell you. I like the anger. I gave him a C- because it's hard to give an F to someone who won double-digit games and made the playoffs. I mean, I know we're all sick of hearing it, and I am the leader of the fan club of sick of hearing winning seasons. But I mean, you can't give F- to a guy who wins 10 games. There's some part of coaching in that, but we all know what the flaw here is. His ego's unchecked. The owner doesn't say anything to him, so he runs wild. He hires bad coordinators, and nobody tells him he's hiring bad coordinators. No one, reprimands him or gives any consequences to hiring bad coordinators. I don't know. Did somebody just very funny? Anyway, I think Mike Tomlin would have multiple Super Bowls if he hired good coordinators. If he gave up some control, because he is a good head coach, because he is a good leader. But I think the team's tired of hearing the same old shit. I think there's veterans on this team that have heard this story long enough, and they're not listening anymore. Hiring Arthur Smith and these guys is not helping him. So, again, I'm with you guys with the anger. I'm all the way, but I think we're going a little too far. Mike Tomlin's still
look
top 5, top 7 head coach in this league.
Dave,
so
I can predict every year what they're going to go record-wise and what's going to happen, and so can
but not every team can do that, Dave.
Yeah.
Not every team can walk in and say we're going to win 10 games every year.
Hey, we're going to go 10-7 and get the shit kicked out of us in the playoffs.
I share your frustration with it, dude. I do.
Every time. I'm tired of it. Like, yes, he has a winning record every season. And that's great. But see, that's the problem with that. It's jail. It's a prison. We're in purgatory.
I agree.
Like, you have to break
But he's not an F
cycle.
coach.
You have to break the cycle. You have to break this cycle. And the only
we have to put our minds aside from the frustration of not winning playoff games and say,
Okay.
Was this year an F? A complete failure? Like a complete
I
failure?
can't even believe you're saying this. You hear yourself? Like this? Am I even talking to Dave?
I mean, we got to be reasonable.
Okay, let me jump in. Does he have a good offense?
No.
Head coach of a team, does his team have
No,
a good
he
offense?
does not have a good offense.
Does his team have a good defense?
Talent-wise or result-wise? They have good talent.
Results.
No.
Yeah, they do have good talent. No result.
Yeah, I don't even believe that anymore because I'm sorry, if you got good talent, you should get better results. I think we have 3 or 4 really good defensive players and a bunch of guys. Now, that being said, so he's not good at all.
Yeah, you just told me that Omar Khan, got all these great players all over the place.
Oh man.
Yeah. Who do you think the 3 or 4 guys?
What's going on here? Is there talent or is no talent?
Guys are.
Thanks everyone for watching. We'll see you later.
Look, I get it. I get all of it, guys. I get all of it. But you can't win 10 games and say he's an F, a complete train wreck failure. You can't say that.
His team quit on him.
No, this is.
I don't know if I agree with that. I think they got tired at the end of the season. I don't know if they quit on him.
I think at the end of the day, this is simply a difference of opinion. Because Dave, I understand where you're coming from. There's simply, for you at least, a bar where a certain amount of wins means realistically you can't be graded lower than a certain amount. I understand.
That's my point. Yeah, exactly.
You honestly believe he could go to any other franchise like Andy Reid did, who's an offensive genius? I mean, there's no denying Andy Reid is an offensive genius.
I believe.
You honestly think he can go to any franchise in the NFL and turn them around?
I believe he could go to any franchise and make them a mid team. Yes, I do.
I do.
Whoa. Turning around is not making them mid.
It's not an F. It's not an F. It's a C-. It's not an F.
Yep.
The Jets are an F.
Game with any other franchise.
Remember,
the Patriots were an F this year. That's F coaching.
Remember,
this is C- coaching.
I don't know.
Today we're giving individual grades, not debating to try and.
Dave woke up today and morphed into Jim Rooney.
No.
What the hell happened?
No.
I understand it. There's a
We'd
bar
like to thank
where
that.
I like the way Zach put it. There's a bar. You can only go so low in Mike Tomlin.
Regardless of whether you agree with what Dave is saying, that's where he's coming from. There is a bar there that because Mike Tomlin has those ones, regardless of all the outside noise, a certain grade has to be assigned.
I don't know how he does it
from a rational perspective.
I agree with you guys. The strategy on the field looks like shit, but then again, I mean,
we didn't even talk about him as a game manager.
I mean, if you want to talk about just off record alone, well, then yeah, okay, fine. Like,
that's what they're graded on, right? At the end of the day.
Well, yes and no. I mean, if you're not winning a playoff game in how long now? I mean, that's bad. He's got the same record as Marvin Lewis now. He tied Marvin Lewis in playoff losses.
But that's not an F.
He's never beaten a top tier quarterback in a playoff game.
Like, there's so many. The record-wise, okay, fine, but as
a matter of fact, who's the last top-tier quarterback he beat?
Now I'm okay. It is very clear what Bob thinks and David thinks and Dave thinks, and we're not going to debate and get anybody. Dave is not suddenly going to say,
"So if Mike Tomlin's an F,
error of my way."
What's the Jacksonville Jaguars quarterback? How do you grade coach? How do you grade him?
Well, that's an F2. Yeah, it's an F2.
What? You think that's the same output?
It's an F grade for sure.
Doug Peterson won a playoff game and a Super Bowl in the last 5 years.
What's he done the last 3 years, Bob?
He
beside
won a
that
playoff
point,
game, probably the greatest playoff comeback in NFL history.
I give them an F2. I don't understand. I mean, if
is there different levels of F? I mean,
I think
you can't give.
There is.
You can't give a coach that made the playoffs an F. You just can't. I agree with everything else you're saying, but you can't say.
If you spend almost up to the salary cap and never win a playoff game, never win the Super Bowl in the last how many years?
It's not like he's losing playoff games with fucking John Elway and Dan Marino. his quarterbacks.
He lost playoff games with Ben
Roethlisberger
in his prime.
Like, what are you talking about?
No, not in his prime.
Yes,
not in his prime.
In his prime.
Maybe the Jacksonville
was
game
the Killer B years.
You guys, you have to be reasonable. You can't.
Okay, fine. A D.
I could even settle for a D, but
there we go.
To say F.
That's how you negotiate, people. You compromise, A D for Mike Tomlin. This is America, damn it. We compromise. All right.
Okay, I'll take away one of my minuses. We'll say F minus.
Okay. Wow, that was a thing. If you tuned in today to see all of our grades, all the wonderful things, we're going through the running backs today, but it is important because we want to make sure that it is not just me on Najee's side. We want to have Leanne here too also to talk about her stuff. So we're going to bring a nice dose of reality also with as little emotion as I can bring into that kind of a subject, considering the amount of Najee stuff I have around me at the moment. But wait, Dave is 3 a.m.
That's pretty funny. That's a good line, John. That's a good one.
Oh, well, we are going to be back on Thursday. We will, depending on the situation, if we have Leanne back, we're going to do the running backs. Otherwise, we're going to do another subject, but we're also going to do our last legendary picks of the year, because if we had a legendary picks when there were no games, it would be incredibly boring. So,
or it would be really interesting because we'd be making up some games.
I just be Canadian Football League is out there, UFL. If you really want us to get out there with legendary picks and go weird, so we will see you all on Thursday. You can follow all of us and our things down there. Make sure you click the QR code to be able to go and buy all of our merch. Just buy us out, because we enjoy your support. So everybody have a what?
1 second. Look out for my mock draft tomorrow. I'm gonna do this on a video and release it. It won't be live, but it will be a video so you can watch my reasoning as I pick the players. So look for that. It'll be up on our YouTube channel. I'm gonna throw it up on TikTok as well.
Nice.
All right. Well, there you go. And as we approach draft, the draft itself, we're going to throw ourselves further into this draft situation, and we're going to have some kind of draft spectacular. We're just not exactly sure what it's going to look like yet, but we're going to do a Steelers Sanctuary style. So
it'll be wild guessing until the combine. Then it'll be just
much
guessing.
Yeah. All right. Well, until Thursday, everybody stay safe, and we will see you then.
With all due respect.
You keep using the word. I don't think it means what you think it means.
These guys ain't so fucking bad.
What did you say? What was that? Well, I said with all due respect.
No, that doesn't mean you get to say whatever you want to say to me.
Sure as heck does.
No, it doesn't mean that.
It's in the Geneva Convention. Look it up.
I think you can go get it now. They could be a lot worse.